Hola, muy buenos dias. Good morning. I hope you are well, staying positive and focused on what you can control. Welcome to Cafecito con HACE. Drop in and tune in and chat in the comment section. Let us know where you are tuning in from and use the comment section to network and connect with one another. My name is Patricia Mota and I serve as president and CEO of HACE, a national organization whose mission is to positively impact the workplace by cultivating the community of talent, providing insight, access, and support to be successful in their careers. And a few key announcements before we jump in with our special guest today. We are promoting our Mujeres de HACE Entrepreneurs Program for this fall, offered in various markets for free. And so please ensure that if you are a Latina entrepreneur or founder, you leverage this amazing opportunity to connect with others and gain amazing resources. And also for Latina Equal Pay Day, we will have a Latina Wealth Summit that's coming up on October 8th. So check that out on our website. You'll see it on the comment section as well for more information. And so we have Thomas Savino, who is the president and CEO of Prospanica. Buenos dias, Tomas. How are you today?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. It's always good to have a good friend and just leader here joining us so that folks can get to know your story and how you got to where you are and the great work that you are leading for our community across the country. But first thing is first, this is Cafecito con HACE, and I know we got to get you your mug. But what is your cafecito? How do you like your cafecito or your morning beverage of choice?
It's light and sweet, which would definitely be the case where I grew up. So very light and sweet.
Yeah, and tell us, so those of you joining us on the chat, share with us as what you're sipping on. How do you like your cafecito? And so, Tomas, tell us about your cultural and your professional background, how you got to where you are today.
Born and raised in the Bronx. My father's Italian-American from Little Italy in the Bronx, and my mom's from Humacao, family from Aguabo in Puerto Rico, before they came stateside. I'll briefly say I know you know some of this. We know each other for a while.
Our community, not everybody knows. Yeah. We're
so
sharing
they were raised in New York where the neighborhoods didn't mix, but my father saw West Side Story and agreed to go with his Puerto Rican friends to a Puerto Rican party because the Italians wouldn't do that back then necessarily, and that's where he met my mom. So West Side Story plays a major role in my family and the family coming together, and of course my subsequent birth. So that's where and I honor both cultures, and certainly probably like when I think about social stuff, it's far more as a Puerto Rican because of maybe some of the challenges there, and we're a bit more recent stateside than say Italian Americans have mostly been here for well over 100 years now. So there's a difference. And then I was born and raised in the Bronx. I didn't leave the Bronx till I was in my 30s, which I'm appreciative for. But we did see New York City nearly being bankrupt, the Bronx being completely underserved, which is still a story today in many ways. But we were diverse, the neighborhoods didn't stay so far away from each other, which I think was also helpful in my navigating corporate America. Because once we got to corporate America, we first worked for Manufacturers Hanover Trust, which now merged as JB Morgan. But there was a lot of diversity in the corporations, and that was very comfortable for me, even natural. I don't know that it was comfortable for everybody else. Mm-hmm. And people were uncomfortable from every community working with others. But for me, again, very natural. So I think that was helpful in being an extrovert and being able to talk to everybody. That was always helpful. And for 5 years, I got promoted every year. And then I went to race. I don't know if you know this. I went to race bicycles for a year or two after that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So it's one of the secrets of what I've been doing the last year or two. You and I have been talking about good health. I got a new bicycle this year. But then I also got my MBA at Fordham, by the way, in Lincoln Center. And I'm walking around Lincoln Center, which is in the heart of Manhattan. And my radar went off immediately. There are no Latino Americans here. Most of the rest of New York City was represented by us. And then there was this organization called the National Society of Hispanic
Mm-hmm.
MBAs. And I joined as a member, mostly really to find out why that was, right? So, and to be a part of maybe promoting the degree more, even as a student. But um, but after I got my MBA, I joined McKinsey and Company, which was very diverse in a different way, internationally diverse. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so at that time, they felt they were very diverse, and in many ways they were. I would say many ways I saw they weren't, because Latinos were in one place in many of the offices, and maybe not at the upper echelons of the organization. But they were trying, and of course, I think many people know, they've done a lot of good, groundbreaking, important work studies on diversity. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
been very helpful to convince CEOs and boards the power of diversity. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a little of my journey. Um,
Yeah. And you touched on your connection to now Prospanica, right? When it was formerly National Society of Hispanic MBAs, and that's when I first got to know the organization, and was really involved with in Indianapolis the summer enrichment program, or it was Project Stepping Stone at the time to help students with career mock fairs and all of that. So just critical work that Prospanica is doing across the country as well. So you talked, and I see some folks that are sharing what they're sipping on. We got Cafecito con ice, Team Agua. I know the team members, and then Cafecito con pan, and like pan dulce. It's always good too. Uh, so Tomas, tell us about you went from the Bronx to Connecticut, consulting to advocacy. So how has your own journey of transforming your career influenced how you now are helping others unlock their potential?
well, I think that journey, it's a long journey, and certainly every part of it, there's been a consciousness of the difference in people, and a consciousness of how to help those different individuals, right? So every individual, and this is part of our story, is every individual is one of my first lessons, to be honest with you, even at the bank, is I think at 24 years old when I had my first team, I thought, well, if I just treat everybody the same, they'll all succeed the same way. But
Mm-hmm.
everyone needs a little something different, right? Some people need more positive reinforcement, right? For instance, some people need more resources. Some people need one high level vision and then stay out of their way. They're going to run with it. And that's true in many different facets. So you just not just their skill set, being sensitive to maybe where they come and their journey and things of that sort. And I think the journey, again, in different places, like a financial institution, that I was investor relations, but there was a lot of operations. And then, yes, being in an international setting and going to Europe a lot, and then coming to Connecticut. It is not diverse in my town. It was 86% white when we moved into my town and very wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but paying attention, if we pay attention to what everyone needs and what everyone's sensitivities are, we've been comfortable everywhere we've gone. My wife and I, specifically, she's an immigrant from the Dominican Republic. Um, and then being comfortable is a great start to understand, what do you need, right, to be successful? Not what do I think you need, right? That comes later once I understand
Mm-hmm.
it. So it's really about understanding what different people need, and that might be different places in their life, their cultural background, where they grew up, economic background, all those sorts of things has been a key for me. So the journey through all these different communities has been helpful for me to stay very focused and not get comfortable in thinking I understand that I have it all now, right? That
Mm-hmm.
I have to pay attention to who they are and their journey, so that I can then kind of feed that for their success. I was
And I,
just good.
yeah, no, I was just gonna say what you're defining there is exactly what I define as equity is meeting people where they are, whether it's resources, whether it's how you're communicating, whether it's the support, right, to ensure that you're helping their success. And I know you talked about, the importance of diversity as well. And so I just want to highlight that because in this current time, I think that folks I think organizations are not doing the work. Leaders are not doing this because of the current climate, but we are pushing forward, right? Your organization and the work that you're talking about, your leadership, we're continue to drive this work forward, and that what you just shared is a prime example of that. So sorry to interject, but you were going to share something else on that.
No, it was just one more example that
Yeah.
how I keep learning, right? So our
Mm-hmm.
office was in Dallas, Texas when I started, and I'm a Northeasterner all my life, and so we closed that office through the pandemic, and we are remote. But half my people are in LA, and they're
Mm-hmm.
native Southern Californians. So the Dallas office, Mexican American heritage. Southern California, Mexican American heritage, very different journeys
Mm-hmm.
and awareness, right? More Tejano in Dallas, not that way into LA, and I've even everyone sounds different, right? So just another reminder to be careful about. Well, especially Mexico, big country, right? Really giant country, and here we have very different cultures, a few states away. So
Yeah.
just paying attention to all that.
Yeah, yeah, no, just the diversity of the community in itself, right? So then you've worked with Fortune 100 companies. You've seen how organizations lean into creating diverse workplaces, inclusive workplaces. So based on your experience, what has been an upside to see, the diversity as a strength and a pathway to growth?
Yeah, I mean, I think early on, say in the 90s, people in a lot of corporate America just thought it was a way to safeguard making the big mistake, which was a pretty narrow and I would say non-creative way to think about diversity. Um, again, I mentioned it's hard for me to think of having a team that wasn't diverse because I want to hear opposing views, right? Something much discussed even in the last week, right? The ability to
Hmm.
hear other opposing views is important. Not that I have to agree with them, but to understand where they're coming from, and
Right.
maybe I get some insight, right, along the way. But the importance of diversity is that we have seen again is these companies, even if they weren't perfect with their internal diversity, needed that, whether they recognize it or not, needed everyone in those organizations, which the net number was diverse, right? Again, maybe upper management looked different from first line management, first line supervisors, but they needed it all to make the organizations work. Again, McKinsey more international, but still,
Hmm.
even in New York, again, maybe in different departments, but they needed everyone to come together to be the strength of the organization. So there's no question in it. Did they maximize that? No. Most of these organizations, not a lot of organizations maximize diversity to make sure it's everywhere, to give everybody that equity, to be most successful. But the journey's been there because I don't think that was there in the 80s when I started.
Hmm.
Don't try to count back and see how old I am. But it wasn't even a thought in the 80s, right? And or even a notion. So there's progress. We'll do a litmus test later in the year and see where the progress is now. But there's no question. Studies, MIT, McKinsey show the diversity and the strength of it. I think what the feedback we get when people hire at our conference, they're not coming with quotas. They're coming for talent, and our talent has
Hmm.
earned what they've done already. Right?
Hmm.
They've earned their degrees. They've earned their previous experience, and then when they get there, they contribute. Right? Because 70% of them are MBAs, so they at least getting into a place they wouldn't have got into 20 years ago. And they're contributing to and that's being seen, right? So,
Yeah.
so the business case is pretty strong there. Is how do companies get successful with it? Still
Yeah.
remains to be completely seen.
Coming for quotas, not for quotas, for talent. I think that's so important because that's obviously been something that been a challenge. So yesterday, oh yes, what day is today? Monday, we kicked off Hispanic Heritage Month, and part of our segment was giving. We had Ana Valdez, who was sharing a lot of the data from the Latino Donor Collaborative. So we'll be sharing that if you haven't checked that out on our YouTube or social media platforms at some point. But part of the data that's shared is just that the trillion and the 4.1 trillion Latinos have that contribute to in purchasing power, representing nearly 20% of the workforce. And yet, part of the challenge is that representation in executive positions still at around 4%. And so I know Prospanica is part of the ecosystem to help close the leadership gap. So how do you help companies understand, right? It's not just the right thing, but it's essential for capturing the economic potential and at their bottom line at the end of the day, not just for talent, but as even consumers, right?
Yeah, I mean, so we take more of a pure business approach to it, right? So by the way, we had Anna at least twice this year. Her data is must reading as far as I'm concerned, right? Because a lot of it speaks to itself. If you're not just a business person, that data is compelling. And so there's that, the education, the research, and then even the business subjects we talk about will all have a component of, whether it's diversity or how do you, or the Hispanic community. We tend to focus more on the Hispanic community first versus going to notions of DEI, right? That's just our first priority. We're not against it. It's just we're advocating and promoting for Latinos in America. That being said, also, I think our role on the Hispanic Association on Corporate Responsibility also helps to speak to that, right? As you know, that group, better known as ASER, led by Sid Wilson, they stay a bit more or a lot more on DEI subjects. And they advocate outwardly for DEI subjects and yes, Latinos. So with all that, and then Sid, needless to say, like for us, speaks for us and comes in. So it's just pure education, which we think is, again, we're a very politically diverse organization, as one might imagine, with MBAs and Latinos. That's nationwide. So from the Northeast to South Florida to Southern California and Dallas, we have a lot of different opinions and a lot of diverse opinions in our own community. So we don't tell people what to think of at the high level. Give them the research, give them the business case, let them know we're working with, we've worked with HACE on and off. I was just sharing for over 30 years. HACE got us our first office in Chicago for National Society of Hispanic MBA. So doing all that hopefully makes the case for different people of the importance of the community and the compelling importance of the community.
And Dr. Vinny Caraballo was a part of that, and he's one that we have one of our scholarships named after at the very beginning. Yeah, so I just had to mention that since you talked about the origins of National Society of Hispanic MBA. Also, we are celebrating Latino Heritage Month, and it's a time to not only celebrate our contributions, but also, at HACE, we're focused on the potential of our community. Thomas, you had a wide-ranging journey throughout your career and life journey. So what do you want the next generation of Latino professionals to understand about their ability to transform not just their own trajectory, but creating this ripple effect of possibilities to impact and give back to their communities? Because I think it's when you support one individual, the Latino community, we're supporting all communities at the end of the day, right? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so journey's been a common word used today, and I think given that I worked a little in the '80s, there has been a journey.
You're the one dating yourself, not. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but someone's going to count, right? There has been a journey, right? And when you're kind of new to a country, that journey is just kind of moving up and maybe getting the next generation to get their educations. We've been on a journey of things like generational wealth, things of that sort. And of course, then we look at, this is why I think it's compelling. First, we get, like Ana Valdez is, for our own people, we have to know how compelling our business case is. That's all to say, no matter how you're feeling this year or the last couple of years, because we know there's some people aren't feeling good about it, or maybe they're feeling they were targeted, and whatever the case is, or they feel a little threatened. We are still at a place, contribute mightily beyond our families. We took care of our families. We're in a good place with our families. I know we still work with our families and honor our families, but all of that is, we're in a great place, in a compelling place where we can contribute, as long as we know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as you keep on getting the right research out there and reciting it like you did this morning, some of the key
Mm-hmm.
numbers, we are in a place where it is ours to move forward. We hear Claudia
Mm-hmm.
Romo Edelman out there
Mm-hmm.
banging the drum all the time, right? It's as much to Latinos as is to everybody else. The data is compelling for us. We're at that place now. We have to grab the mantle to make sure we impact the country, and we are obligated. I would argue, we tell our
Yeah.
membership to help it. Sometimes we don't feel that obligation in our community, but we are obligated. We are obligated. Like if I had a,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talk on and off anyhow, but we are
Yeah.
obligated this year to talk to each other more, right? And
Yeah.
we're talking to other groups more because of
Mm-hmm.
a tougher year. So
Yeah.
that's what it is, the obligation and the recognition that we can now really take the mantle and we have the power to move it forward.
I love that. Talking about, you say obligation, I also say it as we have a responsibility, right? If you're at one of our, I always, whether it's our events or our programs, it's like, it's not only about you achieving that high potential, but how are you then supporting someone else or bringing someone else along to pay it forward? So, and that's so critical today. And I love that you talked about too on focusing on taking this data and being visible and speaking out and using that for your own trajectory. We got some folks tuning in. Hey, Victor, Prospanica, Indianapolis is a beacon for the Latinx professionals here. Got Edgar, Nicole, Rosana, bienvenidos. Continue to engage in the chat. I think, we're out of time here. Unfortunately, is there one more thing or positive, something that you're most hopeful for, or anything you want to add before we wrap up, Thomas?
Oh, there's tons of things I'm most hopeful for, to be honest with you, because I think when I still go around, um, and right, this is a year where we do hear of a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of success stories everywhere, whether it's in the chapters, the individuals. Our students are figuring out ways to get to the access they need. Our groups are still here. We
Mm-hmm.
are working together. We
Mm-hmm.
hope to be even stronger. So there's a
Yep.
lot of great stories out there. We'll have to do a better, I think in Prospanica, we'll have to do a better job, and I've been working on it, of getting all the good stuff that's happening out there so that we know it's happening.
Same here. And I know we've been chatting, and so more to come on that. I do think that's a huge opportunity. I'm hopeful for that as well, for us to do more. I am happy that we've been talking more as well. All of those tuning in, thank you for joining us, Tomas. Thank you for sharing your time, your insights with us. Continue to engage in the chat. Y hasta la próxima. Until next time, everyone, take care. Thank you.